Welcome to a fantastic game of Age of Empires 2 that we played on the ladder against some of China's best players. Stray Dog is a 2K3 rated 1v1 player, so he's about top 100 in the world there. And everyone on the enemy team is a top 200 rated team game player. On Stray Dog's team is player 8, Space, and they're playing as the Vietnamese and the Berbers. They are quite constricted in this area of the map, and you can see that player 3 is pinging them, and I am playing here as the Vikings with my teammate, Double ZX. Double ZX is about a 1700 rated team game player, good for top 300 in the world, and I'm around 1800, good for about top 200. But these guys are definitely better than us, but we have a very favorable map position as they'll have access to very little food in this area, and it looks like they'll just have access to these 3 boars between 2 players, where we'll be able to get access to all of the food in this outer region of the map. My teammate Bell, who is one of my most common 2v2 partners, is playing here as the Vietnamese, and he'll be playing up against player 6, David Baby, playing as the Koreans. The Koreans are definitely favored in this matchup as their unique units counter the Vietnamese unique units, but Bell is a very capable player and should be able to get the job done. He's about a 1900 rated 1v1 player, and he's often hovering around the top 100 in the world in team games, anywhere between top 100 and top 200. Player 2 on the enemy team is playing as the Persians, and he'll go ahead and bring in a boar. I don't know too much about this player, other than that he's another top 200 team game player and should be quite capable at Nomad. The final player on our team is Falcao. He's about a 2K2 rated player, and he's playing as the Spanish. He's quite capable and obviously is playing a great civ, but it looks like he might be about to get housed here, so he's building this with 2 villagers. I really like how he's reacting to this because he's about to have these vills out, and he just doesn't want to allow himself to lose production time on his town center. As this game gets rolling, I just want to let you know that I'm casting this in total first person unedited because it's a fairly long game at about 70 minutes of game time. So if there's any kind of stuttering or errors in the speech, I do apologize. P3 has docked this pond, and I love to dock ponds on Nomad. It gives you great map control in the area, and if the enemy tries to come by here with land military, you should be able to pressure it with the discounted Korean galleys. As this game gets rolling, my plan, because I know that there are 2 enemies in this area, as we have the Vietnamese, is just go for a fast feudal play. So I've only got 4 villagers on wood here, and that's going to allow me to get up to the feudal age a little bit faster than if I went for 6 on wood and was aiming to constantly produce fishing ships. My goal instead will to be bringing in as much hunt as possible so that I'm able to collect that food right under my TC and get a jump start in a fast feudal timing. My start hasn't been perfect this game, but with 2 boars and a deer, or in this case an ostrich as the Vikings, I should be able to get up. Player 2 is bringing in his second boar here, and looking at the dock positions on the outside of the map, the enemy has 2 players here, and Falcao, the Spanish player's fish, are right here, and I would expect either player 2 or player 8 to try to go water to push the Spanish player's fish, because Spain doesn't really have a great eco bonus in the Dark Age anymore, and pressuring them in the early game is a really great way to deny mass conquistador production. Bell is going ahead and bringing in another boar here. As he gets his base set up, he's building some walls here so that the Korean player won't be able to just castle drop him, and he's also pushing in an ostrich. Player 6's town center on stone means he'll have a really easy time going for a fast castle wagons build, and the enemy team were the civ pickers in this, as this team does pretty much always pick civ, and as you can see, they just play a really honorable set of civilizations that show that they are true Nomad players. Player 5 here is bringing in his boars as much as possible, and player 2 looks like he's actually going to run forward with all of his vills through this 1 or 2 tile gap in player 3's walls and go for the Persian TC drop. P3 is going to try to stop this, but he might not be able to. But he's sending a lot of vills, and he's engaging before this even goes down. So this could be really tough for red, but I don't think player 3 has loom, and player 2 does. So this is going to be really tough for Double ZX to defend. He's still not getting loom, And I think Red should just Vil fight him, but he might not be realizing this because he's panicking, trying to get the TC down and trying to get the walls down. But I'm not sure that's going to work. And he'll need to quick wall in some of these villagers. And he's trying to build the wall here, but he fails. And P3's kind of all over these villagers, and now he does have Loom, so Red can't just Vil War this. And as long as player 3 is able to get all of these villagers and attack them all, he should be okay. Red is not sending more through the choke, and it's only at 60%, so I have no idea how this would ever go up. 70%, okay, and he's got a walled-in villager. He'll need to keep walling here, but if P3 sends enough Vils, Red shouldn't be able to commit to building the TC and repairing, and that wall does go down. 80%. More Vils arrive, and Red should be able to get it up now. But some of the Vils are in range at the town center, and there's only one Vil building, 2 Vils building. 94%. But the Vils are all dying. And even if he gets it up now, how will he shoot down the town center? It's denied at 99%, and that's so tragic for Red. Yeah, it's really threatening for player 3 to have this here, and he wants to batter it down clearly, but instead it looks like he'll just try to wall up, and this is a total disaster of a town center drop, and an amazing job by Double ZX. Like I said, he's one of the lower rated players in our team, but he just completely rinsed P2 and did not allow this to happen whatsoever. He did an amazing job to react early. Normally you will not force a DauT TC by Vil Warring, but the timing by Red was really poor here, and he built it way too close to Green's town center. So it looks like he only could really build safely from this little corner of the TC. P3 just has to recover his eco now, and he's still in Dark Age, so he can't put fishing traps down. But it doesn't really matter, because he's just totally rinsed Red. And that was just an amazing job by him. But he'll be very delayed. At the same time, I've been going for a tower rush on these guys. And basically, I was able to break him through this wall, get a tower up here, get a tower here. And now player 3 and I are engaged in this long tower war. And you'll see I'll lose my first villager, as there's one Vil from P3 hiding behind this wall and just stabbing away. Or at least the outline of the villager is there, but he does equal damage to a real one. I'm building another tower here so that it will push this Vil back, because I really don't want to have a Vil helping out his tower, as it makes the tower war just favorable for the enemy overall. And now I'm doing my best to get this tower repaired. We'll dive this villager while he is forced to ungarrison, and we just keep repairing this tower now, and we try to do some damage to this Vil, and his tower will shoot our villagers, but we'll get them hopped into the tower on time this time around, and not lose more Vils right now. PH tower is pretty low, and if we look at the KD in this game, we are 2-2, and it looks like Space here has actually gone for a 7-0 KD, because he's gone for water against P5 as well. And he's doing a great job, so he hasn't lost any villagers until he loses this one. And now that this tower is down, we should have a small advantage in this tower war, just because it's the only thing we're focusing on. And we are really willing to commit the villagers with the Vikings, and he is also playing water. I'm just trying to dodge some tower fire and bait it away from my tower as much as possible, because it kind of gives you some free value. And it looks like player 8 was thinking about trying to get a palisade down here to stop my repairs. But now my tower has pretty healthy HP, and the Viking villagers are just faster than the Vietnamese villagers because we have wheelbarrow already, and we're able to dodge this. Player 2 comes in and tries to douche Bell, but misses, and he's just having an awful game. This is a top 200 team game player right here, a real genius of Nomad with 5 villagers just running across the map. We keep tower fighting here, and we actually have a 5-2 KD now, and you can see Space has lost 3 villagers, and I'm not sure where I got my other kills, but I'm pleased that we did, so we'll take it. Maybe we chased down a couple of player 2's retreating Vils as he ran away. But we have just been trying in this game essentially to secure the map and not allow one of these guys to go FC and just push out into our base with tons of unique units. So you can see I'm thinking about getting a stone wall down here now, But P2 Stray Dog is a pretty good player, as I mentioned, and he's done a nice job to set up some walls in this area. He gets Castle Age, and I'm actually just building a tower here because I want to break through. I know I can't get to this area yet, but if I build this tower, he shouldn't be able to wall behind. And if I have stone walls here and here, even though the castle is going to go up and push back all of my towers, and I can't really deny this, and I shouldn't really be trying and sending all my builds here. I used to be able to kind of deny a lot of castles, but I think that was maybe when I was a lower elo player, and players weren't quite as good at getting their castles up. And this type of strategy probably should be just a strategy where I'm more focused on making sure that I'm securing this area. And I am thinking about that now, so I do delete or batter down a tile of this wall so that I'll be able to build a nice fortification along this area. Or that might have been a misclick, I have no idea. Bell drops his castle on the douche that never was. That makes no sense at all that this is happening, but Red's brain clearly broke in this game. Bell's going to have his unique unit, the Rattan Archer, against the WarWagon, and the Rattan is theoretically good against all Archer units, and it is an anti-Archer unit, so it should be good, but we'll see how well it works. I sort of use this space I've created to create some little walls here, and it's going to be very hard for player 4 to get these Camel Archers out of his base. I've built a stone wall all the way across the map here. He could technically delete this house and kind of get to my house, but then he'd be in range of this tower, and then there's still another layer of walls behind. I'm walling him in here, and I'm really just trying not to let these players out. So he'll come forward and start harassing these villagers, but there is already a tower here, and he can possibly try to break out from this area, but he's not going to be able to kill the houses in time before I'm able to do something about it. If he had done one petard and broken through these houses, that could have been really effective, because you can see it's actually in range of the castle, and he's trying to break through now. But he's going to go ahead and keep massing Camel Archers, and because he wasn't super early to Castle Age, I don't really hate the idea of going Camel Archers. It looks like Orange will also build a transport, and he might try to transport around, and it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do with these units. Really like that play. The wagons come out, and Bell's Rattans are just kind of spread out exploring the map, looking for areas to hit. And he'll be able to retreat in this position. And even though his unit won't do an amazing job against the WarWagon, because it's just such a ridiculous unit, it has 11 attack, which is the same as a heavy cavalry archer. And Bell and I were joking about this unit, basically saying that it is just a heavy cavalry archer. It's literally a giant heavy cavalry archer, and it has the exact same statistics right now as like a Hunnic cavalry archer in Imperial Age, a heavy CA. It's an insane unit, and it probably shouldn't have 5 armor the second it spawns with 0 upgrades, and also have the ability to get to the same attack as heavy CA and Imp. It's pretty broken, and the only thing that counters it is skirms, but if you make skirms, the enemy makes mangoes, and mango plus wagon kills your skirms. You can then make your own mangoes, but your skirms die to the mangonels, and the 11 damage and the high HP of the wagons means they can just dive your mangonels and kill them. They're almost an uncounterable unit at this stage of the game. Player 3 is getting a castle up of his own, and he'll be able to make some WarWagons too. Player 2 probably went for the TC drop on P3, mostly because his allies were very pinched here and he wanted to create some space, but also because if you can keep the Korean player from making wagons, it's a really great thing. Player 4 does have the Camel Archers across, which have transported now, and wagons will be able to sort of push these back, but the Camel Archers are technically counter units to any Cav Archer style unit, and the WarWagon is a Cav Archer. So even though it's got amazing armor, these will still be able to hit through that, as they're going to have +4 damage on Cavalry Archers. So a total of 15 attack, 13 attack, which will hit 8s through this incredibly high pierce armor of 5 anyways. I've got some vills hiding in here, and he'll go ahead and chase these away. Player 4 has gotten a town center up, probably with his docked villager, or kind of snuck a villager out at some point to get over here. And he's just going to go ahead and boom up in this area. But Bell has located this with the Rattans, which is really nice. So player 4 is not really able to comfortably expand his economy at all. And that's a great play by Bell. Player 5 is now dealing with these WarWagons, and because they have 5 armor, the conks and wow, and the missionaries. Well, I don't actually think the missionaries will be good at all, but conks with their 16 base attack can actually micro these down because it's fairly easy to dodge the shots from the wagons, but it's a lot harder to dodge gunpowder volleys. So conks have a pretty good chance against this unit if you can get them masked, but the wagons, because they don't cost any food, are a lot cheaper. And Falcow here is on 4 TCs, and this is partly a defensive play, it seems like, but if he's on 4 TCs, he's not going to have the res to produce conks, and he has no army to protect his boom. So player 6 is kind of able to go around here and pressure while also going imp, which really shouldn't happen. And it's kind of just because I think that we're being a little bit passive in this area and not getting the units out. This is a military production building, the castle, and if you're not producing conk, one of the most OP units in the game, and one of the few counters our team has to WarWagons, we're going to be in a tough position. He has chosen the missionaries, and he's doing his best, and he is chasing these around. But they just only have 7 range, and ever since the change to monks, where there's a default of +1 to the minimum conversion time, it's pretty easy to kill a monk-style unit and run away before mass conversions come in. And he gets 1 monk, loses a wagon. So that was actually really good for these units, because if you lose 1 monk and get 1 wagon, that's a good trade. Player 3 has gotten these trapped, and Bell has a nice army here, but it's not really going to be able to do anything against the Trebbed push that's going to come in from player 6. Luckily for our team, player 3 is also up to the Imperial Age, and he's got 2 TCs, so he should have a little more eco than player 6, but P6 still has the fish, so he's got about the same amount. Keep on the hill is pretty satisfying there, and he'll go for another TC. The players in the corner here should be pretty easy for P3 to push. We've got great vision on this area with our tower setup, and we'll just be able to see pretty much everything that comes in from the enemy. Player 4 is going up now, and that's a really impressive timing from Stray Dog, but as I said, he is a 2k3, and he does have 11 fishing ships on the map still, so he's in a really good position there. This team has done a great job of adding fish after winning water. Every player has a very healthy count of fishing ships, except P2. P2 could really have more fish, but again, he's kind of had a disastrous game, so he'd probably have the fish if he had won water. I've hit Castle Age now, and because player 3 has taken over the military position in this area, I'll be going ahead and just playing water and trying to get value here. There's not a whole lot else I can do to really help my team because there's enemies on land in Imp, pardon me. So I'll just make the amazing Viking longboat, and I'll be able to pressure the fish. And as I mentioned, the enemy has tons of fish, so we'll go ahead and snipe those. Player 3 and I have really gone for kind of a yo licks style of play here, and that was always our plan, where I go for a feudal tower rush, keep the enemy pincered in, and allow player 3 to take over on land. Player 2 kind of tried to licks our yo, but he was just too good. He wasn't about it. He wasn't about to get licks today, and he sent red right back across the map. P3 now has 3 Trebbs out, and player 4 is trying to repair this castle, but it looks like he just ran out of stone, and it's going to be incredibly hard to keep this castle up long term. He gets 1 Treb out, but he's going to lose the castle, and 1 Trebuchet just isn't going to be anywhere near enough to stop this. Player 4 is also going for Cavalier out of these stables in the back, and that's a decent play here, but as I mentioned, the wagons already have 9+2, and that's the same as a heavy Cav Archer. So player 4, who only has the first armor on these, and even if he had full armor, is still fighting against a unit that feels a lot like a heavy Cav Archer when it hits. And he comes in, but he takes these hits, and he just gets absolutely fried by these units. Chemistry just came in as well, so they've even got 12 attack now. And the Mangonels look like they're getting a little bit desperate here, and the castle takes 1, and the Treb takes the other, with a really, really nice shot. This guy right here, 1 kill. P3 keeps moving in, and he'll just be able to freely siege this position now. And as they escape on water, I'm showing up with the longboats. The transport ships are very fast, though, at 1.45 speed, and I don't feel like I can keep up with them. And I sort of expect that he's just going to go ahead and drop off right here on the land. So I don't fully commit to chasing the transports, and instead just try to cut off this area and kill the fish. Maybe I should have pursued here because the return would have been so high, but I've got the longboats here. I don't have ballistics, so instead I feel like I can just pressure and control this area. I've also got a couple of longboats out here, and these are going to pressure P6's woodline for a while now. I'm pretty excited to see how many kills they get in total, but you can see that they've already just forced so many idle villagers and are causing a huge amount of problems here for player 6. The longboat arrows are also kind of hilariously inaccurate against these villagers, but that's kind of okay because, as you can see, they're getting a ton of value anyways, and you wouldn't really want them to be much more powerful than this. We just keep moving around the map, clearing up units, and the Trebbed push has completely wiped Bell. Sorry I didn't show you that, but he was in Castle Age with Rattans against Trebbs, so he doesn't really have any dive potential at all. Falcao now is going to be the one who has to deal with player 6, and P6 has a significantly larger army with the 19 wagons versus the 10 missionaries and 7 wagons, but that's a pretty respectable force here, and if he can get a few more conversions, he might be able to start to push these wagons back. They've got 13 attack now, though, making them one of the most powerful units in the game at this stage, and it'll just be incredibly tough to deal with these. But the missionary are now in Imp, and he might be able to start to get the upgrades for these units, but they go ahead and chase in, much like the mangonels. They get shot down by the castle. I'll go ahead and build a castle in this area, and now that we've cleared up water, it's my turn to add an insane amount of fishing ships. And I really love to fish boom, so I'll just go pretty ham here. And these guys now have 11 kills, and most of those are against the villagers on this wood line, and player 6 finally realizes what a disaster this area has become for him and backs off. This should really help to slow down P6's push, because a lot of his vills have been very inactive for a while, and now he's being forced to send this eco forward. This wood line was pretty much running out anyways, but at least we got to do some great damage before it disappeared. We continue to move around the map, and these longboats have 21 kills. So coming back on water was definitely the right play by us, as it's really been allowing us to get a lot of value, and we're in a pretty good position now. I lose a Vill here. I'm not really sure why I pinged that, but maybe I was just letting Bell know that there were some scouts in the area. Player 3, now that he has completely wiped this area, is just going to reinforce it with a couple of towers and clear it up with mangonels and one remaining unit. He's just kind of camping this area, keeping vision on it for our team, and eventually it'll be my job to finish clearing this up, as I'm really the player who's in the recovery position. Player 3's army comes forward, and these units are so strong against cavalry. The cavalry do have the +4 now, but they won't be able to press in to the Rattans and the WarWagons. Bell is still, unfortunately, in Castle Age as he got pushed back across the map. One of the things he commented to me in this game is that maybe he should have just gone for a fast Imp because his units weren't really able to pressure player 6. Player 5's units are retreating now, and his wagon mass is really nice, but the light cav have arrived, and those should be able to pressure his monks. The missionaries don't have the, or do they have the range upgrade, but maybe it's only +1 for missionaries. I don't actually know, but I would kind of imagine that that's the +1 range, and that he does have monk techs. As we look at the battle here in the east that is going on, player 4 is going to send some cavalry into Bell's reboom, which is pretty painful for him, and I'm not sure that this castle will be able to go up. These Castle Age Rattan archers really don't have the damage to punch through cavalry armor, and player 4 has realized they're here, and unless Bell can really secure this with some nice quick walls, which he does, this castle will be denied. But I think that this will go up as long as these gates don't open or get battered down by the cavalier. A bombard cannon from player 3 is shooting at the cav, and the gates look like they're going to hold. And the pikemen or halberdier from P3 arrive, and Bell will probably get this castle up. The gates are both locked before they're built, which is a really nice new feature in the game, and he'll be able to build this castle with those great quick walls. Really nice job to secure that position. I just hit Imp, and I'm just getting the gun or the range upgrades so that I can maximize the value that I'm getting from these units. And I've been kind of thinking about going full Navy in this game, thinking about going for frontline units, thinking about going for pikemen, and I recently learned that pikemen are actually, the Viking pikemen with full upgrades is better than a standard halberdier. But I'm also thinking that the Koreans have super cheap halbs and is already teched into them, and that what I'm going to do instead is get some ranges set up. And because we've already got the WarWagons with the insanely high base attack, I'm going to go for a massive army of Imperial skirmishers. That's going to mean that I'll be able to use all of my gold for my navy, and because we're in a pretty constricted position on the map here, I don't have a ton of gold in the first place. I've gotten this fish boom set up, and I've got 29 fish traps, or 29 fishing ships with 29 traps now, and I'm in just a really, really strong position. Our longboat has 10 kills. Totally ridiculous. These guys only have 6. They're slackers. But I'm just grouping these up so that I'll be able to take the fights with the upgrades and hopefully not lose these units. We have another group of longboats here, and across these we now have 26, and we'll get up, it looks like, to 28 kills on these units. Really, really strong navy. And playing Viking Navy in the late game is the absolute dream. I'm actually getting siege engineers just because I got chemistry to get these cannon galleons out. And once I have the cannon galleons out, I'll be able to finish off this town center. Elite cannon galleon with siege engineers might even be able to range these 2 castles. And we will be able to push back any towers that player 6 sets up along the coast, while also doing things like clearing up the stables and pressuring anything that the enemy has built along the edge of the map. There's not actually too much here in the south, but just being able to break up player 6's construction here in the north will be really effective and a good way to continue to limit his ability to carry this game. The battle in the east is kind of a stalemate right now, where they're just pushing Bell's castles. Bell is on the way to Imperial Age, and this castle is on a hill, and even though it doesn't have any of the upgrades, it will still be in a position to be fairly defensible. 2 Trebbs versus a castle on a hill will only take maybe 8 villagers to permanently repair this thing to full health, and Bell will probably be able to do so. Falcao has lost 272 units in this game, and it's been an absolute disaster now that the cavalry have shown up. He would have probably been a lot better off rather than going for this full missionary play. Just getting the conks out. He had the castle. Conks and monks are pretty good against wagons, and rather than going for all of these units, which just aren't great in the late game, he could have had a huge ball of gunpowder, which would have also been able to hit and run against these cavalier. Bell continues to hold the castle, and I start to dock the pawns so that I can get out longboats and cannon galleons in the middle as well. We now do have the elite cannon galleon upgrade, and we have siege down this castle, and we'll just continue to control this area. It's possible we'll be able to take out this tower as well. These units are so powerful, and even just having spawned into the game a few minutes ago, they are already pushing 11,000 damage. Our fleet of longboats, which has been absolutely heroic and alive for like 15 minutes, 5 of these don't even have as much damage. But they do, of course, have the kills, and they've really been putting in the work for our team as well. We get the ranges set up here in the front, and we're planning to assist with the fight in this area, because I'm thinking that the ranged units will be able to shoot the backline units from the enemy, and my skirms can just dive, creating problems for the enemy team. But player 6 shows up here, and I'm really grateful for Bell for having built this wall in this area. And the cannon galleons are pushed back by these WarWagons, which are one of the few units that actually have enough damage to hit through the ridiculous 8 base armor of the cannon galleon. But they're still able to retreat and continue to be very impactful in this area, so we're pretty grateful to have them. He'll keep punching through the wall here, and I'm just rushing my skirmisher upgrades. I'm trying to get max armor as soon as possible, and it looks like that's going to come in for me before the wagons break through. So these units will have 8 armor, and they'll only take 5 damage per hit from the WarWagon, which is still a lot, but at least they won't get completely fried. And you'll see that the skirmishers are really good at dodging wagon fire when they move, even if the wagons do have the ballistics upgrade like they do now. Skirms are pretty good against WarWagons, and they really force the enemy to add in mangonel. and player 6 probably doesn't have the resources to go Onager and WarWagon, so he's going for these keeps and trying to secure this position, probably hoping that he hits me before I get into a really strong position. But I'm kind of already there, and I've got the production. I have 107 economy, and that's 27 fishing ships, which are really the most efficient food collection unit in the game. I'm not going for any farms at this stage as the Vikings, and all the farms that I did build in Feudal Age, I've allowed to expire. We take control of this area again. Our ships will just siege this down. 2 units have 12,000 damage, and we've got a few cannon galleons built in the middle here. A few longboats coming out in the middle here with just 1 cannon galleon. But this bad boy has DauT Castle all by himself. Just totally ridiculous value. Player 6 comes forward, and these units also have an insane kill count at 42, and he'll join this fight going on in the east, which is really picking up steam. And I'm pinging here telling my team to go back and that I'm going to come over and help out in this fight. This fight is getting really hard for us. The Camel Archers actually aren't great against the Rattans because the Rattans have 6 base armor, but I think the Camel Archers have 12 attacks, so they still fry these units before the full set of Imp upgrades come in, where these will get to 8 armor when Bell finishes the final Archer armor upgrade, and they'll get to 10 armor when they have Elite. Bell's still absolutely doing the right thing, though, to frontline against the Camel Archers, because the Camel Archers completely fry the WarWagons, and they're one of the only real counters to WarWagon. But if our team can wait until the Imp Skirms are here, the Imp Skirms will be able to dive both the WarWagons and the Camel Archers, forcing these incredibly expensive armies back, or they'll just get completely wiped by these counter units. The cavalry will then be able to dive the Imp Skirms, but if the Rattans and the WarWagons can shoot at the cavalry from the back line without taking hits from all these really powerful ranged units, and all that we're losing is Imp Skirm, we're going to be really happy with that trade. We're kind of turning the Imp Skirm into a frontline unit here, and you can see P4 wanted to just dip, dive, and dodge, but he's not able to, and we've actually just shift-clicked all of our Imp Skirms onto these units. And you'll see that they'll start to fall, and when this army retreats, it's full of the bodies of enemy Camel Archers and whatever you would call the sinking remains of a giant wagon. I continue just to step into the front line here, and that's probably a little bit too deep as I don't have a great range position here. I should have moved more ranges onto the front and probably built a few here, built a few here, but that's something that I can really struggle to do in the late game. We got huge value in this fight though, and our team used to be kind of getting pushed back here and having a hard time taking efficient fights, but now we're doing pretty well in this area. We are losing a lot of units now, and we are taking damage from the castle though, but if we get the Trebbed set up and are able to push, we'll be really happy with that. And the Halbs come in, and now we do have the front line to keep taking a really convincing fight in this area. So P3 just dives the Trebbs with the Halbs, and even without the final attack upgrade, which the Korean civilization lacks, the Halbs are able to do pretty good work here. But P4's repairs are ridiculous, and he's keeping these Trebbs alive. Wow. Really nice job from him. But they're still only having 2 Trebbs forward now, and Bell's doing a great job of getting these out. And the 4 Trebbs will simply beat the 2 from the hill, even if P4 has amazing repairs. And the army in this area is now just a lot bigger for our team, with almost double the HP, more than double the HP. Our Skirms have kind of been getting caught in this position, and we definitely haven't been getting the value that we want from them. This tower's probably gotten a lot of kills, only 6, and they are just Skirms, so that's alright. But you can see we're kind of getting kited into this position, and I've actually clicked my units back over here. And I kind of just accept that I'll eat tower fire as long as P6 isn't able to push in here. But I'm not sure why I did that. I hope that I wasn't thinking about it when I did. I should have just clicked these units over here. If they're the front line in this fight, we just clear this area and easily win. Skirms don't counter towers, so this is bad. Let's look at something else. Fish traps are just beautiful. We have 29 of them now, and it's just an amazing food economy. At this point in the game, I'm starting just to sling my team, I think, as well. because I've gotten to the point where I don't really need to be constantly spending all of my resources. A lot of my military is in Navy, and these 22 longboats have 48 kills and 32,000 damage. The 3 cannon galleons, a mere 5 kills, but still 23k damage, which is really nice. These armies on land simply won't be able to produce the same types of results. Green's WarWagons have done an amazing job, though. These are basically boats on land. 17,000 damage is incredible, though. That's really, really great. He's kept these units alive for a long time, and those are land units as well, which really shouldn't be able to get quite as much value as we're getting on Navy. Let's compare. Yeah, only 2,400, so they've done over 5 times as much damage, and the elephants pop out from Bell. And the Vietnamese player, who was not in a strong position, now has these Chartreuse elephants with 420 HP. He immediately follows up with the Trebbs. And Bell is a very thoughtful AoE2 player. He's not just kind of spamming units when they're not going to get value. He knows that these elephants won't necessarily survive indefinitely, but he's getting a huge push behind with 5 trebuchets, and that's going to be incredible for us. A really, really nice pushback here. And this is a big play that will help to close out this game. We've now got Trebbs from the east with 7,200 damage across these 2 armies. We've deleted the excess ships in this area. Making the 5 longboats was a really mistake. I kind of thought I'd be able to camp them here and that WarWagons would continue to pass by, but they haven't been. We've got a really good trade eco going now, and pretty soon I think I'll add another dock in the north, which I'm building right now, and that will start to make these trade units path even further back, and instead of only getting less than 109, they'll be getting a full 109. They were only getting 51 before, so just going this little bit of extra distance to this dock is going to double the return, more than double the return, and it won't take nearly twice as long to do that trip, so it's very worth it to get your docks set up just like this. And we've got the Spanish trade bonus as well, but you can see that the Spanish player's trade is actually not having the upgrade for trade cart speed yet, and the market upgrade affects these, so you really want to get that upgrade in your market. It's a Castle Age upgrade, and it's really good. Bell's Trebbs are just in ridiculous numbers right now, with 9 Trebbs forward, and I really like the Capture Age. Unlike the game, we'll select the pack Trebbs and the other ones together. It's a really nice feature. The wagons just continue to crush, and you can see the enemy does have onagers out, but you would really need a huge mass of onagers to pressure wagons at this stage, and you're probably just better off with these Imp Skirms. Let's see how they do. They're not really being micro to target individual wagons, which I don't love, so he's probably not going to have the same success that we've been having against the units. It's really important to micro your skirmishers against wagons. And it just is one of the things that makes wagons very strong. You can see, though, now that they're targeting the same wagon, they do kill it in just like 1.5 volleys, and that's really impressive. So he's getting good value now against these units. And these skirms have probably done quite a bit of damage, yeah, 1,200 damage just across these 14 units that just came out. They each did pretty much 100 damage to the WarWagons before they died, and that's crazy because wagons only have 200 HP. You can really see that skirms will trade fairly efficiently then, if they can kind of like 2v or 1v2 a wagon. 2 skirms for 1 wagon, not 2 wagons per skirm. P3 has an insane castle stack here, and he seems to be repairing with like every villainous eco. He doesn't have 35 repairs on his castle, surely. 23. Maybe he did have closer to 35 before the skirms got in close, but we just have too many Trebbs, and even with this many repairs, even with the castles on hills, and even with the upgrades for these castles, they will go down, and people won't be able to produce the camel archers anymore. I'm letting player 4 know to come close to my armies to take the fight, because he's countered by both of these units, and if P3 had kind of come a little bit closer here, I might have been able to get some more value and help him out a bit, but we don't. We do not have the elite longboat upgrade, which is a little bit sad in this game, but we've been sending resources as much as possible, and I didn't really think I needed elite longboat because my team was constantly asking for wood. One of the amazing things about fishing traps is that the traps are much more wood efficient than farms, so you're able to have a really healthy long-term wood economy And you can see that this trap is almost out now, and they start out with over 600 food. So we've gotten 500 food from each of these fishing traps in this area that have at least been set up for a nice long time. This push is just completely convincing at this stage. We've got Korean bombard towers, Korean keeps with the Oopsong upgrade for 13 range. And this army on the hill is just absolutely ridiculous. It kind of is hilarious that both teams are going for Imp Skirms right now. And Imp Skirm is kind of the king unit in this matchup because it counters all of the really expensive stuff that's being made. And it, of course, also counters itself, at least in kind of the sense that they're equal. Player 3 has recovered in this game, and he's going for an awesome push here with the Spanish gunpowder. But this siege onager is getting close and will get killed by the bombard cannon. This was such a fun game of AoE, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know if you feel like the cast quality is a little bit lower when I'm not doing the full editing and pausing. Normally when I kind of stumble at all in speech, I would edit that out. Please give me the feedback. I can take it if you didn't like it as much for that reason. The stats in this game show we had a ridiculous 140 wagons created, and we actually ended up creating the most of the same type of unit for our team with the Imp Skirm. Though we did pretty much throw these units as much as possible, so that's not really too impressive. But we did get into a really decent position here while still being able to sling. The Camel Archers and Cavalier, both out of player 4, were extremely powerful. And then the WarWagons were, of course, very good for the enemy team as well. But I think Double ZX got a lot more value out of his wagons than P4 did, than P6. When we look at the military score, it really was pretty much all P4 and P6 for the enemy team. P2, of course, kind of took himself out of the game, and we did a great job along with P3 at pressuring player 8, though I'm really impressed with Stray Dog for recovering so heavily. Our team has a little bit more balance to the military score, with Bell and I both contributing a fairly significant but not amazing portion. Our lowest military score player still did more than the 2 lowest military score players on the enemy team, so we did a really nice job of putting each other in a position to succeed in this game. Looking at the KDs here, the wagons are so strong, and he was pretty much going pure wagon here, so he's got the best kill death, but I really think that player 3 still did an amazing job. We don't have a great KD, but we still got a fair amount of kills in this game. And player 4, once again, was just amazing militarily. We were able to send 16,000 resources to our teammates. A lot of it was sent to Bell and Falcao, the 2 players who were recovering. Of course, P3 didn't need too much, but I did send him, I think, a little bit of wood because everyone on our team was pretty restricted when it came to wood control. Stray Dog did get some sling to help him get to that carry position, it looks like. And most of that came from P2 and P6, who were already basically dead. I don't really love slinging when it's from like a healthy economy player to another healthy eco player, just as a primary strat. But because P2 and P8 were pretty much dead, I don't really think there's anything wrong with doing some slinging, because how else were they going to contribute in this game where they were having a lot of trouble trying to win? The final stat we'll look at here is our combined navy doing 90,000 damage. And that's just pretty insane, and was a really fun way to play the Vikings, controlling the water and controlling these bays and as much land as possible through this style. Please subscribe to the channel or give the video a like if you're enjoying the content. This is Varus. Have a great day.